or the virtual memory. And the disk is partitioned into blocks. And what is important is that the page size is the same as the frame size, is the same as the block size. So initially we had the process on the secondary memory into these blocks. Then the operating system generated a logical address space for the process. And eventually, in order for the process to be executed, whatever data is needed by the process, that data must be brought in the main memory. Connection between the page number and the frame number is given through the page table. And in this picture, we have an additional information, which is the valid invalid bit. The valid invalid bit is set to 1, which means valid if we have a legal reference done by the CPU and the page that it's referenced, it's already in the main memory. And is set to 0 either because the reference is illegal or the reference is okay, it's legal, it's part of the address space of the process, but the page that it's referenced is not in the main memory yet. So right here we can see that we consider that the process already started executing. It did some execution, and through its execution we had 2 references, one to page 1 that contains variable p and one to page 5 that contains variable f. These pages are already in the main memory. They were brought in the main memory through the execution of the process, and page 1 went into frame 2 and page 5 went into frame 6. Now for the other pages, instead of having a frame number, we have the address on the disk and the valid invalid bit is set to 0. Also, what is in beige, let's say in this picture, is considered that is taken by other processes. So it's not only our process in the main memory, we also have other processes that are in the main memory. Okay, so now let's consider that the CPU wants to execute load E. So the instruction at a lower level, it's load E. The CPU will generate a logical address with 2 fields. One is the page number and then the displacement inside of that page for getting to the exact variable, let's say, or data, which is E. Now, E is in page 4, so in our example, so the logical address will have 4 for the page number. And the displacement is some number which is not very important right now. Just consider that we know the location of E inside of that page. So the next step is to access the page table and get the frame number, because what we want eventually is, or what the CPU needs eventually, is the physical address. The physical address also has 2 fields, frame number and the displacement. The displacement is the same as in the logical address. Going into the page table, so the next step is to access the page table, and the very first thing that is done is to check the valid invalid bit. So I have this also mentioned right here. Yeah. So 1 second. Yeah. Check the valid invalid bit. In our case it's 0. That will create a trap to the operating system. The operating system, it will be invoked and will check the cause of the interrupt. And in our case, we consider that it's 0, not because the reference is not legal, the reference is legal, but we can see that the page is not yet in the main memory. That is named a page 4. So a page fault happens when the CPU makes a reference to a page that is not yet in the main memory. The operating system must serve the page fault. By that we understand that it must bring the demanded page into the main memory. Otherwise, the CPU cannot continue the execution. And we have a couple of situations. So we need to copy the page, the block corresponding to page 4. So in our case, let's say this block into the main memory. So we need to find a space where to bring our block into the main memory, or in which to copy our page into the main memory. And there are two possibilities. We might have a free frame in which we can copy the block, or we might not have any free frame. So we have A and B. A is for free frame, B is for no free frame. So we're gonna start with the first situation where there is a free frame in the main memory, and our demand page can be copied into that free frame. So this is our case A. So if there is a free frame, the next step and you know what, maybe let me just have another file. Okay. So if we are in the case that there is a free frame, the next step is to pick a free frame. And there are algorithms for picking a free frame, but we're just gonna pick one of the free frames. So you take a look at the picture, and we can see we have free frames like 7, for example, it's free, 12, 13, 14. So based on whatever our picture shows, that is how we can see what are the free frames. So let's say in our picture we have 7, and I'm just gonna put 12, 13. So we have 7, and then 12.
Professor?
Yes, 13.
Sorry for interrupting, but are you recording this video?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Because I came at 12:15 and no one was here, so I thought maybe we don't have class. So I missed the first couple of minutes. That's why.
Yes,
but okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So I do record this, yeah? So we're gonna consider there is a free frame. We pick a free frame, and let's say that in our case we pick frame 7. So in your solution, in your exam, you just give a list of free frames, and then you say, okay, this is the frame that I will consider. Even if we have algorithms, we're not gonna follow any specific algorithm. So once the operating system picks a free frame, the next step is to copy the block that contains variable E, or copy the block that contains the demand page into the main memory. So we name this as bring in or swap in. So bring in, or you might see it like swap in, or copy into the main memory, the demanded page. So when we bring this, so this is this error that comes here, and let's say that now we're gonna have here page 4, page 4 that contains the variable E. Right now it's in the main memory. Okay. So what is the next step? Well, the next step is to update the page table accordingly to the fact that we brought the page in the main memory. What we're gonna update is the entry 4. So the next step right here, we're gonna say update page table and we're gonna have entry 4. And what we're gonna update is the valid invalid bit. Valid invalid bit. Our page is now in the main memory, so it's gonna go from 0 to 1. So right here we're gonna have 1. And then instead of the address on the disk, we're gonna have the frame number. So this address on the disk is where the operating system can find the demanded page in the secondary memory in case that is not yet in the main memory. But in our case, instead of the address on the disk, we're gonna have frame 7. So this will be our updates. So right here, I'm gonna say that for the frame number, before we had the address, now we're gonna change that address to 7. Okay, so what's gonna be the next step? The next step is to restart the execution of the instruction. Because if you remember, we had an interrupt before. So we restart the execution of the instruction. We start from the beginning with the reference, the logical address, and again with the page number, get into the page table at the entry 4, check the valid invalid bit, it's set to 1, retrieve the frame number, which is 7, generate the physical address, which is gonna be 7 and the displacement, and after that, through the memory management unit, the CPU will be able to access E in the physical address, in the physical memory. Okay, so this is quite straightforward. Yes, we have one update when it comes for the page table. So again, the steps, you pick a free frame, you pick one that whatever free frame you like. Next, copy the demanded page into the main memory. So bring in or swap in the demanded page. Update the page table, restart the execution. Okay. So now we're gonna move on to the second situation, second step, that says, second case, that says no free frame. Okay. It's mentioned in the lecture notes, but I just want to explain again, what do we understand by no free frame? Well, we might not have a free frame in the entire memory. So it's possible that really there is no free frame in the entire memory. So let's say all these are taken, 7, 12, 13, everything is taken by other processes. But in many cases, the process might have a limited number of frames that it can use. So let's say in our case, our process, let's say, cannot use more than 2 frames. So in that case, even if we have other free frames in the main memory, that is irrelevant for the process because the process already used all the frames that is allowed to use. So from the process point of view, there is no more free frame. It has 2 frames that it can use, and both frames are taken by page 1 and page 5, so there are no free frames. Now, based on these situations of having a process with limited number of pages that it can use, or having a process or not having a limit on the number of frames that it can use, we have different type of allocations. We have local allocation and global allocation. Local allocation means that if you need to replace a frame Okay, now let me explain first what does mean replace. So let's say there is no free frame. Still, our demanded page has to be brought in the main memory. And if it's brought in the main memory, that means that it will override one of the frames, no? Because there is no free frame, so it has to override one of the frames. In case that we use local allocation, then it will override one of the frames of the process. And usually we have local allocation when the number of frames is limited to the process. So let's say the process, it's allowed only two frames. However, I want to bring my demanded page into the main memory. So it's gonna have, my demanded page will have to override either the content of frame 2 or the content of frame 6. So we have local, the override, it's gonna override one of the local frames. Yeah, so it's local allocation. In case that our process is allowed to use it's allowed to increase the number of frames. So it's not limited to a fixed number of frames. Then in that case, the best will be to bring our demanded page into a frame that is of a different process. So to override a frame given to a different process. And that is named global allocation. So you go global. You replace a frame from another process, which of course is the best situation because now our process, instead of having only 2 frames, is going to have 3 frames. It took a frame from another process. So in most of the times, the most efficient way is to use global allocation. By using global allocation, the process, it has a more dynamic address space. Its address space can be increased. However, there are disadvantages also in using global allocation, which I will explain it in the next lecture. One of them is that the trashing, which we're going to see what it is, the trashing can be spread from one process to another. So the trashing is like a virus in a way. And if we use global allocation, then it can be spread to other processes. But if we use local, then it's contained only to the process that, trashes. So it cannot be spread to the others. Okay, so having no free frame again has 2 meanings. We're gonna consider that we use local allocation. We're gonna consider that our process is limited to 2 frames, already has the 2 frames used, and now we need to bring our page into the main memory. So we will have to bring our page in one of these 2 frames, and we're gonna pick one of them. So let's say we're gonna pick frame 6. We're gonna name this frame as the victim frame. So we're gonna go to the next step, no free frame, and I'm gonna say pick a victim frame. And there are many algorithms to pick the victim frame, but at this point, when it comes to the steps for page fault, we're just gonna pick one, yes? So if I use local allocation, then I'm limited to the frames that are given to the process. In our case, these are frame 2 and 6. If I was using global allocation, then I wouldn't pick the frames given to the process. I will go and pick any other frame, any frame that is given to a different process. Besides this, there are other criteria, like was the page changed since it was brought in the main memory, and other possibilities, which I will mention toward the end of the class. Okay, so let's say we're gonna pick our victim frame is gonna be frame 6. Okay. Now we're gonna copy the demand page into frame 6. But now keep in mind that page 5 was brought into frame 6 at an earlier time. And in case that we had any write operation on page 5, what we have in the main memory is not anymore is not the same with what we have on the disk. So before overwriting page 5, the first step will be to save the page 5. So we want to copy page 5 into the secondary memory, to swap out page 5 in the second memory, to bring such that, or save, such that what we have in the secondary memory is going to be the same with the last, what we have in the main memory at that point. Yeah. So again, page 5 was brought in the main memory at an earlier time. We might have had some writes done in that page. In that case, what is in the main memory is not the same with the secondary memory. Since we're gonna overwrite page 5, we want to save it first. So I'm gonna say here, save victim frame or swap out. Yeah, the content. Okay. So we're gonna, let's say, we're gonna have here this will be our swap out. Swap out the victim frame. Now, the next step is to update the page table, because we can always have interrupts in our execution. So we don't know what if now somebody wants to, what if, maybe another process, or in case that we use shared pages, or even this process, I don't know exactly if it's possible, but if we want to write something on that page. So the point is that as soon as you swap out the page, you save the page, you want to let know that that page is not available anymore in the main memory. So the next step will be to update the page table. And since we're talking about page 5, now page 5 is the one that was swapped out, that means that in our page table, we're going to update the entry 5. So next step is update the page table. And it's going to be entry 5. And we know that the valid invalid bit is going to be changed from 1 to 0 to show that the page 5 is not in the main memory anymore. And then for the frame number field, we had the frame number, which is 6, is going to become an address on the disk. Okay. So right here, we're going to have the first update. The first update, we're going to have 0. and then here we're gonna have a disk address or address on the disk. Okay, so okay. So now we are ready to bring in the demanded page. So the next step is to bring in demanded page. Okay, so that will be swap in. Swap in the demanded page. And then the last step will be to update the page table, because now our page is in the main memory. The page is in the main memory. So what entry we're gonna use? Well, what page we brought in? Page 4. So we're gonna have page 4. The valid invalid bit is gonna be changed from 0 to 1 to show that the page 4 is now in the main memory. And for the frame number, we're gonna change from the disk address to 6. So it's gonna be from the disk address, it's gonna change to 6. Okay. So let me just pick a victim frame, save, update, swap in, demanded page, and update. And these are the main steps. Okay, so right here, we're gonna have this set to 1, and then here we're gonna have 6. Okay, this is our second update. Okay, and now restart the execution. Now, so the next step will be restart the execution of the instruction, and we have exactly the same thing that we had before. Go to the entry 4, check the valid invalid bit, it's 1, retrieve the frame number, generate the logical address, and basically get into the main memory. So right here we have at the very end, we're gonna have page 4 that is gonna contain E. This is the last. Okay, so let me write in here. So the next step will be restart the execution. Okay, so these are basically the steps for B, for node free frame, and above we have the steps for yes. Again, we had pick a free frame, bring in, swap in the demanded page, update the page table accordingly, and in that case we are kind of done. Restart the execution of the instruction. Okay, so this is what needs to be done. And what we're gonna do next, we have only one lecture on memory management. The next step is to take a look at the performance of demand paging, and I will go over two problems that are posted also on the course site. One of them it's already explained in detail. I did that in one of the previous semesters when I got sick and I had to cancel the class. And I will go over the other one as well. Just an introduction to the performance of demand paging. Demand paging, so the fact of having a page fault creates a lot of overhead, because if we don't have a page fault, then the overhead is taken by accessing the page table. We discussed this when we went over the performance of paging. So depending on how the page table is implemented in registers or main memory, or we have a TLB, we have different overhead. And the slowest situation was when the page table was implemented in main memory, and double the time. We had two memory accesses. Let's say that the memory access is 100 nanoseconds, which in our days is much faster than that. But let's go with 100 nanoseconds. So it would have taken 200 nanoseconds in the worst situation. Well, when we have a page fault, we have I/O operations. Swap out victim frame or swap in demanded frame. These are named I/O operations. We copy the content of a page from the secondary memory into the main memory, or we save it by copying from the main memory into the second memory. And this is order of milliseconds. So we are comparing milliseconds with nanoseconds. So it's a huge delay. It's 10 to the 6, no? 10 to the 6 times slower than not having a page fault. But still, we use this allocation scheme. You have to read about the advantages of having virtual memory. The fact that one, you might be able to run very large processes that initially wouldn't fit in the main memory. But more than that, you can have a higher level of multi-programming, because you can have, instead of having two processes completely in the main memory, you can have 10 processes that will be just partially in the main memory. And what happens is that, okay, we have a huge overhead, but the page rate is most of the time very low. We must have a very low page rate, like let's say one page fault in 10,000 references. No? That will be 1 over 10,000, so which is going to be 0.000%, or 0.01%. So the page fault has to be very low. However, this is possible due to the principle of locality. So I will go over the principle of locality next time. So just an example. Let's say you want to initialize an array, and your array has 10,000 elements. However, your array fits in one page. So let's say that your array fits in page 4. No? Okay. So you have a page fault to bring page 4 in the main memory. But after that, you're going to make at least 10,000 references to your array. With every element that you want to initialize, you're going to make a reference to that page. You initialize A00, you make a reference to page 4. A01, make a reference to page 4. So if you have 10,000 elements, you have at least 10,000 references to that page. For each element, you're going to have a reference to that page. So now you have only one page fault out of 10,000 references. Only one page fault, the one that was needed to bring the page in the main memory. But after that, once the page is in the main memory, you have no page fault. So it's doable based on the principle of locality and how the operating system stores structures in the memory. Okay, so I will stop here. This is basically the lecture, the memory tree, and we have only one lecture left. And I will try to write it as detailed as possible, and I don't even know. I'll also discuss it synchronously. Maybe it makes more sense if you hear it. It's up to you. I will let you know what is going on for next week, which is our last week. So I will send an email or post it on the website. Okay. Do you have any questions? I hope you're still there now. Sharing. Okay. So I'll see what's going on. I will restart the computer, see what's going on with Proton. Monday or Tuesday, the latest. I had to start the other section first. I started with the other section. It's a disaster, and I just moved in. I go by question, so the story it's all left for the end. So I grade first everything in one section but the story, then everything in the second section but the story, and I come back and take the story in every part. So I just started looking at your, some of your exams. The section that is Monday, Wednesday, it was poor. So we'll see in your section how it goes. Okay. So then, see you or hear from you next time.
Thanks, Russ. Have a good day.
You too.